AM 1280 Newstalk KIT. It's the morning news. Dave, Lance, Jackson, and you. Thank you for spending some of your time with us during this week and next as we have some conversations with the folks who seek to represent you. It's our candidate forum. It's not a debate. What do you think we call this? Interviews.
Our candidate interviews. That's right. And yeah, remember, we're going to get these ballots. Ballots go out tomorrow. So, I mean, you could already be decided. But if you're not, I mean, we always tell you to hold off, because not only may you learn something here, but in the days ahead, just before the August 6th primary, who knows, So who knows what you might learn or how you might change your opinion on stuff. So make sure you just kind of hold off. All right, in the House this morning as we continue our candidate interviews, Yakima City Council District 1 candidate, Kenton Gartrell. Good morning, Kenton.
Good morning.
Yeah, nice to have you in here. Tell us about yourself, Kenton. Who are you, your family, your friends, whatever? Yeah, tell us about who you are.
So my name is Kent Gartrell. I've actually lived in Yakima my whole entire life. I went to St. Paul and then Riverside Christian and later graduated from Riverside Christian. Upon growing up here, I've been working since I was 12 years old, actually, in this valley. For the past 10 years, I've been working for Yakima Youth Soccer Association as a facilities administrator and manager for both their adult programs as well as their youth programs. They service over 3,000 individuals within this Yakima Valley or within this community all over for sports, soccer related, and cultural related. I also sit as Vice President of Liga Mexicana, which is also another non-profit organization serving adults specifically, as well as putting on some youth training programs for our kids here in the local valley. I also sit on the board of Elegant Soccer League, which is also a league that participates out there at a Tandem Youth Park. Over the past 5 years, I helped develop Tandem Youth Park. I helped with the team out there, along with the City of Union Gap, in developing about $400,000 of grant writing and improvements for that park. So what you see today in that park, I had a hand in help developing.
Family, Lone Ranger?
Most of my family has since moved to Colorado. My dad is from Colorado, so originally they were all from here. They all grew up here. But as my grandmother started aging, they decided to go over there and visit. I did as well for about, I would say about 12 months. She since passed during that time, which is a good opportunity for my father to be out there and still get to see his mother before that happened.
Sure. Are you single? I guess that's more what I'm asking. Do you have family yourself?
I actually do not have any kids. I do not have a wife.
Okay.
I own my own house, and I live off on North 6th Street, so I live in the heart of District 1.
All right.
All right.
So we're going to ask some specific questions, and we'll ask some general questions. Generally, everybody we want to know is what motivates you to run for city council?
Part of my motivation for running for city council is I believe it's time for a change on city council. Part of the reason is safety. I believe safety is having knocked on a lot of doors for the past month is that they're concerned about safety. We don't have proper crosswalks for the kids walking to school. A lot of kids within my district actually walk to Barge and Lincoln, St. Joseph as well. A lot of them walk to Washington Middle School even from my district. You can watch them walking all the way on Fair Ave and such. There are no crosswalks for them to cross. Even when I'm walking downtown in the evening or just going to meetings at city council, walking to them, it's literally hard to cross the street because they're 3-lane roads. They're one-way roads. There's only actually one crosswalk on Lincoln that entire stretch, and it's over by the church itself. Cars will not stop for you. We've lost touch with that kind of safety, and to me, it shouldn't take a kid getting hit for us to actually do something on that agenda.
True. But do you have to be on city council to petition to get some crosswalks put in? I mean, there's more to certainly more to that job than that issue, and even your predecessors are talking about this safe routes to school thing. That seems to be already underway or in progress of some kind. Is it just to kind of sort of like continue that sort of work as part of the motivation?
Yeah, it's to continue that work, and that is also a key factor is that other council members have brought this up, like Jason White specifically has brought this up several times in the whole district of District 1, District 2, and several neighboring districts around him as well. So I believe if we're going to continue that, we need proper leadership that's willing to work with the members that are staying with on city council to press forward. And I believe the sentiments in this community is a very positive one. They want to move forward. They want to move as a community and work together to make Yakima great again, because it has great potential. We are a community. We are wanting to work with our neighbor. We want to meet our neighbor. We want to go out to the parks. We want to visit and have barbecues with our family. I believe our leadership just needs to mirror that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I was just going to say, you were at last night's city council meeting. Your district representative, I would characterize as passionate to the point of forgetting manners, forgetting respect, forgetting classy representation. That's my interpretation. What's yours?
Unfortunately, there are those in our community that choose to take embarrassing routes to accomplish their goals or commit to what I would call as political grandstanding. I believe it is a shame that we have to conduct ourselves that way. I don't believe it represents our community one bit. I also don't believe in personally attacking fellow businesses within our community. I believe that is exactly why we need change, because that doesn't represent our community. No one in our community acts like that. Nobody wants to treat our neighbors that way. We need to get back to our family values, our core values as Yakimanians.
All right. Ice Flights was voted down last night. Had you been on council, how would you have voted?
I believe with the other 4 council members that voted in the majority on that issue is that truly we have no way of actually influencing that decision. That is a private contract. We can't, it's a federal issue. It's a state issue. If we truly believe in reform and we truly want to do the humanitarian thing for our country, for our community, and for our state, we should be writing our representatives and our state senators. A lot of them have been in there for over 12, even 15 years, and we have not, like Brad Hill said, we have not had proper reform in 20 years. If you actually go back in history, we have not had proper reform since 1950s. If we want to truly have proper reform, I would encourage everybody to start writing their senators. We have over 100,000 people living in the city of Yakima. If every one of those people registered to vote, that would, in and of itself, actually change and make proper reform at the state level, just in and of itself. I would love to help all those in the immigration issue. I believe we can support them. I believe we can back them. We could help them with this reform, and we could help them write to their senators as well as their reps as a council. But we cannot make policy where it is not our duty nor our responsibility. And as a leader, we need to show that and back that. And that is where we go back to that ICE issue and being an embarrassment actually last night.
Given the fact that you just said that, how would you characterize yourself politically?
Could you
clarify that? Are you a Republican or Democrat?
I am actually a moderate Republican. I am the only candidate that actually declared a party in this race. I truly don't believe in nonpartisan. I believe you should show the people that you're knocking on doors who you truly are, or it doesn't necessarily mean that you believe 100% you are this or that, but it shows how you voted in the past or consistently vote. And I wanted to be honest, even though I am moderate on a lot of social issues specifically, I do lean liberal on some social issues. Just like I said, I'm for immigration reform. I believe that is more of a liberal issue than a Republican issue. That shows that I am a moderate on that.
In terms of the council has, within the last 5 years, changed dramatically. First with the ACLU decision that meant all general elections are districted only. So that puts people in the interesting position of having to decide on an issue, good for my district versus good for the city at large. And oftentimes people will find themselves directly in that. There was an article that KIMA had put out, and you were quoted in that, and as I think it was when it was talking about pools and representing your district, and sort of had this: if everybody else's district has this, then I want mine to have it too. Can you clarify on that? Because one of the things that people will note is that districted only communities usually have higher taxes and are more expensive because of an attitude where everybody wants what everybody else has. So can you clarify your position on that?
Yes. So I do firmly believe that the district system has worked into representing the community a little bit more responsibly. However, I do believe that the other side has some merit to it in the fact that the city does need someone that can be held accountable or responsible to the city itself. Because as you pointed out, everyone's going to point to their district or work on their district, which is their sole responsibility and accountability to their district. They were elected by their district, so they are responsible to their district as an elected official, no different than a rep or a senator to their constituents. I do believe in a elected mayor. I believe that the council should not be electing the mayor. I believe the people should be electing the mayor, no different than we elect our governors, and our legislative branches are much the same way. That would represent our community as a whole better, and that would hold somebody accountable to proceeding with doing what is best for Yakima. Because if Yakima didn't believe that they were being responsible or accountable to their community, they could just literally vote them out. And there's also accountability on that end. With the districts, we will concentrate on districts because we're still voted on our districts. But at the same time, we have the ability to veto the elected mayor as well in case there was some issue on that.
Sure. All right. Lance, go ahead.
KIT News Time is 7:25. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Yakima City Council District 1 candidate Kenton Gartrell, or Kent Gartrell. And I suppose you prefer Kent and not Kenton, but get to your full name. What you say you're hearing safety issues. You hearing anything about from the door knocking that you're doing in your district? Well, what are some of the other concerns that people are talking about? Are they asking for for instance, for a new pool, or are they concerned about gang violence?
So District 1 actually used to have a pool in, I believe, Miller Park, more specifically. They did use that pool. A lot of the neighbors around that area specifically, I would say anything from North 1st Street to the east, actually wanted that pool to be kept there. The issue with pools is I agree fully that economically they're a problem. It's hard to get money for them. You have to have money implemented for them. They are expensive to maintain. They are expensive to create, too, as well. But I would like to point out, too, Jason White has pointed out several times that there are certain communities within Oklahoma as well as Tennessee that have proven that pools can be a positive form of creating events as well as positive economically in the long run. You just have to have the right management and the right employees that know what they're doing, are experienced in making that market value to make them in the black instead of in the red as they typically are, especially here in Yakima.
The Oklahoma one was a $12 million operation to build, and it's in a town with 32,000 college students, and the level of income considerably different than what District 1 has. So the conditions, because it works one where, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work somewhere else, especially someplace that's economically, socioeconomically different. So if you or Jason can figure out how to make money on a municipal swimming pool, you don't need to stop running just for city council here. You could run for state legislature, national office, king of the world, if you guys can figure that out. So good luck. One of the things that, and I keep getting into the ethical questions. I had some time on council, and I was in an at-large position, so I always felt that my responsibility was, to take a big picture look at things. But in that same process, when it isn't so much district as it is research, some people are better at homework, research, analysis than others. imagine a time when you know more than the people in your district because you've done the homework, you've been exposed to the conversations, you've done the legwork. You know subject A is good for the city. People in your district are going, we don't want subject A. So now you're at a crossroads between what you know is good and right versus what your district is saying. How do you handle that situation?
I believe in that we go back to being a responsible leader. We are responsible to our District 1, so if our district needs a little help in that communication process, specifically a lot of my district doesn't watch the news or anything like that. So that involves a lot of meeting and greeting. And if there is an issue that you believe that your district needs to be aware about, it is up to that leader or that council member to go out and make that effort to knock on those doors. Even though they're not running for election at that time, they should go knock on doors, talk to the community. An example is literally what Jason White did for the Cruise the Ave. Both him and I were actually out there walking Cruise the Ave, getting their feedback, wondering what do you guys think? This is your baby. This is what you guys want. This is what you bring to Yakima in a positive light. How can we help you, or what can we do? We need to go back to those grassroots steps of meeting our neighbor, talking with them, and being responsible. They elected us to do a job. We need to shake their hands and talk with them.
Would you say that probably doesn't happen as much as it should?
I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Kent Gartrell, you got some more time? We can talk a little bit into the next half hour. Thank you for your time this morning, for sticking around. It's an opportunity for, whether you're in District 1 or not, if he's elected, he's on council, and he, by nature of position, represents our city as well as District 1. So it's good for us all to be able to hear where he's coming from, and we'll do more of that after the news.
That's war,
our
baby.
conversation continues. District 1, the northeast part of Yakima.
Yeah.
And the representative, Dulce Gutierrez, choosing not to run again. 3 candidates from the district. We heard from one yesterday, Matt Sagan. We have Kent Gartrell in the studio now. And Jackson, we have yet to hear back from the Macias. Miss Macias, is she? Haven't heard anything back. The outreach has been made so that you might hear from all 3 candidates. But Mr. Gartrell is still here in the studio.
That's right.
And will be for the next 15 minutes. So.
And I guess, Dave, we know where his opponents are coming from. So, I guess Yakima from the KIT standpoint, if you're looking for a conservative, if you're looking for someone that maybe thinks like you, this is Kent Gartrell that we are introducing you to today.
Question on you had mentioned that that given the districted system and thus the your interpretation that your loyalties reside almost exclusively there, and that's why you would support an outside elected mayor as sort of someone more responsive to the community at large. And thus could conduct the meetings, and there's not even let's face it, the system itself engenders competition. You're basically saying, here's a pie, we're slicing it up 7 ways, and while we all sort of know why we want to be here, the people who put me here are from this slice, and that's where I live, and therefore I'm here to represent them. I get that, and I think that the system, because it does that, people have said, well, you get different people in there and you'll get a different result, and that's true. There's no accounting for each individual's experience, character, etc., but the system still engenders that, and thus a check and balance against that would be a change in system. There has been conversations about change in the system, and in the last go around, Bruce Smith was the guy that was leading the charge back when we had a long-time city manager leave. Dick Zais left after 30 years. The question was, do we need a fresh start and a fresh look and a change of system so that an unelected official wouldn't have undue influence over the council people? We now find ourselves in a situation again where Cliff Moore is leaving, and so a window of opportunity exists. And yet, we started the process last night of looking for assistant city manager and city manager with the prospect of a system change out there. Is that a responsible approach to take? Or do you think, last time we had a citizen vote, do you want to make a change? Do you think something like that is in order before we invest the time, the money, staff time, everything necessary in pursuit of a system that could change in the next year?
I believe, having knocked on doors and talked with several current council members that will be remaining for aren't up for election currently, you have a pretty strong political atmosphere at this time for an elected mayor to actually proceed, whereas last time there wasn't too much political clout behind it. I believe that atmosphere has totally changed and would pass and proceed both by the people and by the new city council as well. The city council should hire an assistant manager. Right now we don't have any, or one's going to be leaving here in August. We do need someone there to help keep things running, to help keep the staff moving forward in a positive light. I don't think necessarily we need to hire a main manager at this time, because if we do go forward with an elected mayor, it kind of makes that position obsolete, whereas we still need an assistant manager, which no matter which way we go, so that person could interim and actually take over the duties of the main manager.
Problem being, by design in our form of government, the only person that can hire an assistant manager is the manager. Council isn't allowed by law to do that. So you heard Cliff Moore say last night they could try to expedite this thing in some sort of interim manager position by August 20th, and then have the interim manager select the assistant manager that may become our assistant manager under a new system. So now you got temporary, hiring temporary, which could become permanent under a totally different system. Sounds to me, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And I even know what I'm talking about.
Thank
so.
you. Thank
and
you
I'm
very much.
confused. So it's kind of muddy out there. So you, if you're a betting man, would you say that at this time next year, July the 17th, 2020, would Yakima be operating under a strong mayor system by then, or efforts would be underway to make that happen?
I believe by February you'll have a vote, at least by the council, to move forward with it.
All right. Let's see. February. That would mean
Which I think
the
does
current.
fit around what you're saying.
What's that?
I believe it, after the council votes it through, I believe by July is what your timeline is.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let's see. What else do we want to know about you? We want to know about the things that you think this council's been doing right. Things to continue.
I'm looking at an article in the Yakima Herald Republic.
A publication.
They tell
that
you
tells
stories. We're going to get this right. Anyway, I'm looking at the story, and it says that your anger over several issues, including the city's push for Yakima.
Me personally?
No, I'm sorry. This is for Kent.
Oh.
This is for Kent. Sorry. It says it says his anger over several issues, including the city's push for a Yakima Central Plaza and its budgeting practices, prompted you to get more involved. Expand on that.
So as
I take it first of all that you weren't. We got to know just for the record, we were both for the Yakima Central Plaza, but we understood for people that weren't. Got that? We didn't like them much, but we got to know what he was. I was joking.
Did you hear from last night? You can't even say is Central Plaza anymore.
You can't say that anymore.
That's triggering conversation.
Okay. But that triggered your anger, right? In a sense.
So I believe people on both sides of the aisle meant very well with what they were trying to accomplish. I believe both the no and the yeses were trying something for this community.
What were the no's trying?
I believe the no's just truly didn't believe the timing was right. I think there were so many issues going on. For specific, you mentioned the budget. There were so many budget issues going on that I don't think the people in their minds felt like producing something else right now that was going to be expensive would help the budget in any way. So it's more of a common sense type feeling
You mean
on
the
the people's
the
part.
electric? The
Yeah,
electric?
the electric system or electoral
All right.
system, whatever you want to call
Okay.
it.
All right. So go ahead, Lance. I didn't mean to hijack your
No,
conversation.
and it goes on here from that Herald Republic story to say that you were also upset by by what happened to K-Funk. Kind of tell us about that. And you say that's probably the one thing 95% of the people around here disagree with.
That actually is when I decided that I was going to actually declare as a candidate, because no matter which side of the aisle you actually sit on, whether you're Democrat, Republican, third party libertarian, or any of those, they all have one philosophy in common, is that they believe in free speech. She represents her district. She represents, whether we know it's a majority of it or a minority of it at the time, we don't know that, but she represents something. So censoring her from committees accomplishes nothing but a point of emotion, I guess. And it's philosophically wrong with no matter which side of the aisle you sit on, and people don't agree with that. They don't agree with censoring. They like to see people speak. They might think it's wrong, or they might disagree with it, but they still let you in this society, in this community, speak.
Are you hearing that from people when you're knocking on doors?
Actually, yes. Even in District
Really?
1, they actually say, "What was that about?" Or they go, "Why would you do that?" Because they believe in free speech. We grew up in a public educational system, which says that once you've gone through our system, you've learned what it is to be an American and what it is to be part of society and to be a family member and part of this community. And the first step is you have the right to speak. You have the right to vote. You have the right to live your life as you see fit. And that goes along those lines with everybody's heart and how they grew up. Even those coming from other countries to immigrate here are immigrating here because they see a better way of life. They not only see a better way of life economically, but they value our values.
Did you see her performance at last night's meeting? You were sitting right there. You think that Representative Funk demonstrated the best of America and free speech and the spirit of Americanism in dealing with all the issues? She was on the receiving end of what, a dozen 5-1 votes, bogged the process down. The whole idea behind a censure is the ability to control the business operational procedure of the council, and the council represents the city as an entity. And the idea of disagree behind closed doors, reach your conclusion, come out and speak with one voice, you don't support that concept?
So I believe if I can't speak on the behalf of the council because I'm not on the council.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not.
I'm not too familiar with their infrastructural processes because there's training once you've been
Sure.
elected that you go through to learn those processes, and I've never been through those processes.
But it's
So
the concept of the ability to reel in, to check yourself. I mean, most organizations, we're seeing it play out on the big screen here with Congress. Vote to censure, vote to send a message, et cetera, et cetera. Do you support an organization's right and ability to do that?
Could you clarify that a little
Sure.
bit?
You're on council. One of your members is, and by everyone else's determination, out of line. Do you live with that, or do you believe in the ability to call that person in to consider other methods of behavior?
So I won't name the council person that I actually asked this question to last night, actually after the whole show there, is that I asked, should that not have been dealt with on a, what do they call it, where they stop in the
Executive session sort of thing?
where they stop the session because someone's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
There's a term for it, but it escapes me. But I asked why didn't they proceed with that procedure, and they said oftentimes when those people start to go on those rants or start to do that, they end up politically hurting themselves. They show their true, either they're starting to show their true colors, or the community will be the judge of that. And I thought that was a perfectly good example of let them speak out, because yes, there's a problem with free speech on that end, but there are consequences to free speech, and I believe that is the political consequence. If you don't remain disciplined in your behavior or approach while you're a leader on city council, I believe it's up to your constituents they'll see that. They'll know that. They'll either read it in the news or they'll hear it from you guys or they'll hear it from word of mouth, and word of mouth spreads faster than anything else in this community. And I think that's the greatest punishment. Why censor somebody when they're going to be responsible to their constituents at the end of the day?
Well, that's an excellent point. One of the messages that I guess I would send to you and all else who seek counsel, seats on the council, is that under our current system, you have the weight of 17,000 residents behind you, and if you get 500 votes in that district, you'll win, and your 500 vote support gives you a say over 1/7 of the city, when people in other districts are requiring 2,000 and 3,000 votes to achieve the same circumstance. So I would just caution everybody that runs that has the mandate, and I'm at the council and I'm doing my thing. Your thing is there because of like 500 people. So do you represent this swath of Yakima or don't you? Hey, before we run out of time, first of all, I really appreciate coming in, taking these questions on head on. Well done. We'd like to give you the opportunity to make the elevator speech, as it's called, where you talk to all of the city, but in particular the voters in District 1, and tell them why in this period of change coming up that Kent Gartrell is the guy.
I'd like to tell District 1 that I am a proven leader within the community. I help those nonprofit organizations that are a part of their culture, that do help create safe kids program all across this valley. I represent their voice. I will listen to you. I will be there knocking on doors. Even after election, I will come to your door on issues that are tough issues, or 60-40 issues, 50-40 issues, those close issues. I believe they should be much a part of that as anything else, not just, hey, you elected me, now we don't see each other for 4 years. And I believe they need a voice. I believe I'm part of their family, and I would like them to be a part of my family.
Thank you very much, Kent Gartrell. We wish you best of luck, primary, should you move through. We'll have you back again and maybe get into more specific about certain city programs and plans and all of that as you head towards the general. So best of good luck with all of that. As Lance said, the ballots will be out here at the end of this week, if not tomorrow. And
that's right.
We'll be at those crossroads before you know it. So
that's right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in, Kent. The only conservative running for that district position. Don't forget about that one, folks. 61 degrees at 7:57. The morning news continues.